Before we even cut out our pattern, we are going to tie off our insertion so that we're ready to smock. So if you will notice in your instructions under preparing for smocking, it says if you're using view B, we recommend a 60-inch wide pleated insertion, and that's what we sell at the Children's Corner, and of course you can cut that down to any size you want. I'm only making a size 12 months, so I'm starting with just under a 45-inch length of fabric, and 45 inches, or just a little less than 45 inches, will be about 200 pleats. So if you look on the back of your smocking plate, most smocking plates will tell you how many pleats it requires for that design. But if I were going to use a stacking design or picture smocking, I would want a little more width than this. I probably wouldn't want the full 60, but what you can do is if you have a 60-inch, go ahead, and what I've done is secure the blocking guide to my ironing board. You can use a lace shaping board too if you'd like. And then I went ahead and tied off the one side, for me it's the right hand side, of my pleater threads after pulling out 1 or 2 pleats so that I have a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Mine's just a little bit more than a 1/4, but I'll trim some of that off later. Anyway, go ahead and tie those and pin that down. And then what that does is it gives you like a third hand, because now you have both hands to play with your insertion. So if you were to want to do picture smocking, if you were doing a larger size, like say a 3, 4, 5, you probably would need all 60 inches of the pleated insertion. But because mine's a small size, I would take the fabric here and just move it over until the pleats are a good distance for picture smocking. So for picture smocking, you're going to want your pleats to be a little closer together because you're going to need for that stacking to have some give to it. And so I might need, you know, another 10 inches or so to get my pleats as close together as I would want for stacking. But I'm just doing geometric, so I'm going to stay with the 45 inches, and I've already marked the center. And if you can, it's always best to do that before you pleat it. Usually when you get a smock or pleated insertion from us, the center is marked. And of course you can always count pleats. So I don't have to worry about it being right in the center right now. So I've got this side secured with some pins, and I've got this side tied off. So now what I've done on this side is I've pulled out enough for a 1/4 inch seam. And then what I like to do is you can just flatten this out for now. It's just easier to deal with it flattened out right there. So I want this edge to be right at the edge of my smocking guide. So I'm just going to go ahead, even though that's not flat yet, I'm going to go ahead and secure this end right at the edge of my smocking guide. Now again, because we've got that secured, then we can just now pull the threads taut. And then tie them off. I'm going to tie mine off 2 at a time. Since I'm only doing a 12 months, I have 10 rows pleated, and I'll be smocking 8 rows. You always have a pleater thread above and below your first and last row of smocking, and those are your holding rows. And these pleats, or these pleater threads, will not be taken out until we have that top yoke stitched down to the insertion. So I've got mine tied off, and now I can redistribute my pleats. And if as you're smocking, you need to move your pleats a little closer together as you smocked, sometimes I do, and then you move them back the other way. Do that. Do whatever is comfortable and whatever you are used to doing. And then after it is smocked, we will actually do this again, so that if you've maybe smocked a little bit tight and you need to block your insertion again, that's what we'll do. Still with the threads in, we'll work on getting our smocking and the pleats all even, and then we will steam it. I'm kind of getting ahead of myself. So you are ready to start smocking now. After you're done, then we'll move on to the next step.